we're on an incredible growth pattern. Your group is trying to shine light on a new way to grow, essentially. You could say LA did it wrong. Maybe San Francisco did it wrong. I don't know if, I think the reality is that metropolitan areas have grown so significantly in certain areas in the United States, as they have across the world, as they do throughout history. And you, as a government, you're kind of always playing catch up. There's certain areas that have done it the right way. I look at like Boston. Like, I love that city. I think it's extremely walkable. But I also understand that that was platted out and really grew before the existence of a car.
Yep.
And New York is the same way, and Chicago really is the same way. And so I think that we're in a different world than we were in the 1800s, of course, in terms of city planning. But I think there's enough information out there with cases like LA that have had this crazy growth, and then places like Minneapolis that have changed their code, and other areas that have changed their code and adapted to this new, almost non-car centric, more walkable, more pedestrian friendly city. And people our age and younger, and even a little older than we are, appreciate that. That's the way they want to live. And I think if our local government is smart, they will take that into account. And hopefully the state does the same thing.
We're all sort of a victim of our context, right? Like, we were born into the era that we're born into. I think part of being an optimist about housing and being somebody who understands why it's important to say yes. And this is part of the culture that needs to change. We were talking about historic preservation before we got started here. And the history is so important. Tampa developed before the car. We had streetcar suburbs before there was a car. I talk to my grandparents all the time about how they used to go downtown on the streetcar to go shopping. They go to the movie theater, they go to the Sulphur Springs, they go to the pool on the streetcar without a car. And they walked everywhere. Or they rode their bike everywhere. It was their generation who helped tear that down in the city of Tampa. I mean, if you go to any American city, America had phenomenal world-class cities that today we look at, someone may or may not like Paris, or, any given example. Everyone can criticize any city. But if you go and look at the walkability of your ideal city in whatever place you envision your ideal city is, Tampa had Tampa had a little bit of that, but the United States had that. I mean, St. Louis was a phenomenal city as far as walkability and density and transit 150 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago. This like idea that we can't have dense housing or we can't have transportation, that the car is the end of everything, is a very short experiment in the history of like human cities. I mean, it's been less than 100 years that the city of Tampa has developed in that way. And we found out that it's not really working super well. Like, there are some things that are good about it. I don't think we should ban cars, right? Like, nobody's talking about banning cars, but why are we subsidizing car infrastructure at the expense of people who can't afford cars? There's a conversation to be had about that for about 30 or 40 years, when we built all the highways through Central Avenue and Ybor, where we just forgot that there were some good things about what those neighborhoods could be. There was some racism. There was some very, mean-spirited stuff.
And this isn't a Tampa issue. This is every city almost in America issue.
Yes. I mean, it's important to talk about the Tampa context, but you also have to talk about the broader national and international context.
If you enjoyed this clip, click here for the full episode and make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.